शांति चारों ओर, होगी शांति चारों ओर, होगी शांति चारों ओर। एक दिन वो मन में है विश्वास, पूरा है विश्वास, होगी शांति चारों ओर एक दिन।
Dear students, you will be giving the most important exam of your school life from 21st of April 2021 onward. Due to Corona pandemic, this academic year was very challenging for all of you in terms of offline teaching and learning process. In spite of that, students, you all have done very well in your studies. Like you have studied with full passion and confidence and are able to complete your portion. So for those students, we would really like to appreciate for their hard work. But still, we feel that there might be some students who are not sure and confident whether they have completed their studies or no. They seem to be very much confused. So, in order to help such students, ASEMGAN channel have started series for providing helping hand to our students. In this series, we are going to solve all your queries related to Science 1 and Science 2 to make you feel confident by solving all your queries and by clearing all your confusions. So today I'm going to explain a very important topic of metallurgy from Science 1 for SSC board exam. So let's begin class. So my dear students, let's begin with the chapter Science 1 called metallurgy. For the same, I will share the screen with you. I have prepared a presentation for you. You need to follow this presentation, watch this video, and prepare yourself very well. See, our main motto for this video is SSC at one glance. Till now, all those who have not prepared themselves, or even the one who those who have prepared themselves, can just go through this web series for this series of this videos class where they can understand and learn the concept very well. I want you all to watch this video till the end. If you like it, please like our channel, share it with your friends and subscribe our channel, which is Asim Gyan channel. So let's start with this SSC at one glance, which is a complete guidance series, which will be provided for your Science 1 and Science 2. The main concept, direction and coordination is done by Mr. B.B. Jadhav. Myself, Shahnawaz Sheikh, working in Kapol Vidyanidhi International School, Kandivali West, will be giving you the lecture on this topic, and the technical guidance is provided to me by Mrs. Megha M. Rane. And our today's topic will be from Science 1, and the chapter name is Metallurgy. So let's begin. Today we are going to start and see the chapter Metallurgy class. Okay, so class, let's begin with the chapter reaction with oxygen. How the metal reacts with oxygen. Whenever a metal reacts with oxygen, it always gives us a metallic oxide. Now to understand this, we have some metals arranged in a particular order in a series called reactivity series, in which the top one is highly reactive and the bottom one are least reactive. Now how to remember this and all that will come in the later part of the chapter. Let's go ahead. If I take the top two element metal like potassium and sodium, when they react with normal oxygen class, they give us a product called potassium oxide and a sodium oxide. But this is not the only result. We need to even check the number of atoms on both the sides, which is called as balance equation. Now when you see the left hand side and right hand side, the potassium is 1 and potassium is 2. They are not balanced. Even the oxygen is not balanced. So to make them balanced, we'll start placing the numbers as per our convenience so that they get, both of them get balance on both the sides. So let's begin. If I place 2 for potassium, potassium is balanced, but still oxygen is not balanced. So on right hand side, if I place 2, so this 2 will be for both potassium as well as for oxygen. So when you see the oxygen, it gets 2, but when you see the potassium, it is 2 into 2, 2 to the 4. So that
left hand side 2 which I have taken will be wrong. I'll have to replace it with another number called 4. Now when you look at it, class, it shows there are 4 atoms of potassium on the left hand side and 2 to the 4 atoms of potassium on the right hand side. When you look at the oxygen, there are 2 oxygen on the left hand side and this outside 2 by distribution method, 2 oxygen on the right hand side as well. Similarly, we have to even balance our sodium and sodium oxide to get it done, as you can see. Now, this was the easily reactive metal because they are highly reactive, but there are some other metals which do not react normally at room temperature. So they need to be reacted with a very high temperature. Let's take an example of magnesium. Right? They need to be heated up so that they get reacts with oxygen, and in return they give us a magnesium oxide as a product. Class. Again, for balancing, as I told you, you need to balance it. So place 2 and 2 on either side, it will get balanced. Now when you go for the next element like zinc, it is again needed to be heated up so that it gets react with oxygen to give us a similar kind of product called zinc oxide. Class. And again you need to see whether it is balanced or no. If you'll see, zinc on left hand side is 1, zinc on right hand side is 1, but oxygen on left hand side is 2 and oxygen on right hand side is 1, so it's not balanced. Oxygen is not balanced. So to make the oxygen balance, I'll place 2 on the right hand side, but in that case my zinc is also getting changed because this 2 is common for both. So on my left hand side, even I'll have to place 2 over here, that it gets balanced. Class. Moving ahead, we can go for the another elements like a metal is iron pieces are placed above the fire. When they are placed above the fire, they react vigorously and give us a result. Now we can see the result of the iron as iron oxide. The iron shows a variable valency, so it can give us a 2 kind of product. Let's take the first one. If I take iron reacting with oxygen, it will give me the possibilities are 2. The first one, iron with a valency of 2, because iron shows variable valency as 2 plus and 3 plus. If the iron shows 2 plus valency and oxygen's valency is always 2 minus, so 2 and 2 will get cancelled and the product will be obtained as FeO, that is iron oxide, which is called as ferrous oxide. In case if it shows valency as 3, then definitely the numbers are not same, so we can't cancel it, so we'll have to cross multiply and this Fe will become 2 and O will become 3. So iron 3 oxide, which is ferric oxide. Now when we got 2 results, both of them will be added to get a new result called Fe3O4, which is iron oxide. So this is how they react with different metal. The oxygen reacts with different metal, giving us a different product. As you can see, if it's not balanced, you'll have to check out where we need to put which number. And like over here, if you see earlier, iron was only 1 and here we had Fe3, so we can simply place 3 over there and get 3. Here we have already iron as 3. On the right hand side, if you see, oxygen atoms are 4, but on the left hand side we have only 2. But it is very easy to make 2 to 4. Just put 2 before O2, you will get it easily, 4 2 to the 4, and this is how we can balance. Likewise, if you will take copper, copper is a little bit less reactive as compared to all the above elements, but when the copper is heated, class, the area gets darker, right? It gets black in color because it reacts with the outside air and oxygen to form copper oxide. So copper reacts with oxygen to form copper oxide. And how do we come to know? Because it turns the area black. And again, we need to check out whether the following reaction is balanced or no. So if you look at the reaction, copper is 1 over here, copper is 1 over here, it's balanced. But when it comes to oxygen, we have 2 oxygen on left and 1 oxygen atom on right. So I can simply make the 1 atom as 2, but I can't multiply a number directly to each of this. Means only one of this I'll have to multiply as a common, so I'll put 2 as a common on the right hand side, because of which my copper has also changed. Now oxygen has turned 2, but copper has also changed. So on my left hand side, I'll put 2 for this copper. So when you check it now, copper 2, oxygen 2, oxygen 2, both of them are balanced. Similarly, we can replace the copper rod with an aluminum rod and it will react. Again, it will get heated up and turn black in color because it also reacts with the outside surrounding oxygen to form aluminum oxide. And again, we need to see whether it is balanced or no. If you look at the following reaction, it completely shows that the following reaction is not at all balanced because we have aluminum 1 over there, and on the right hand side we have 2, oxygen 2 on the left hand side and 3 on the right hand side. Now it's quite difficult to make 2 to 3 or 3 to 2. But we can take the LCM method and multiply, like 2, 3, the LCM would be 6. So the whole right hand side term, I'll multiply it by 2. When I multiply it by 2 class, my oxygen gets 2, 3, the 6. I already have 2 oxygen on my left. So I can multiply it simply by 3. When I multiply it simply by 3, it will get 6. At the same time, when you look at the aluminium on the right hand side, it is 2 to the 4. So I'll simply put 4 before the aluminium and it will also get balanced. So this is how the metals react with different uh, oxygen in a different manner. Now, most metal oxides are insoluble in water, but some of them dissolve in the water to form an alkali. So on the basis of this class, we'll see some of the reaction like potassium and sodium oxides dissolve in water to produce an alkali. We'll see how this potassium oxide, which is just prepared, reacts with further water to give us a product called potassium hydroxide. So potassium oxide reacts with water to give us potassium hydroxide plus as a main product. And again, if you need to see if it's not balanced, then you'll have to balance it. Like we have potassium 2 on right hand side after putting 2 over here. If I remove the 2, then left hand side I have 2 potassium, right hand side 1. Left hand side I have 2 hydrogen, right hand side 1. Left hand side I have 1 plus 1, 2 oxygen, right hand side I have 1. So I can simply put 2 for all and both of them will get balanced. Similarly, we can take another example of sodium hydroxide. Sodium oxide with water, it will form a sodium hydroxide as a product, which is again not balanced, but simply I can put 2 over here and the things will get balanced as we balanced in the earlier reaction. Now, as I told you about the metals class, so we have this all metals in a particular series, in a particular pattern, one below the other, called a reactivity or an activity series, depending upon their reactiveness, how much they are reactive. The one which is the most reactive is placed on the top of the series. The next one is a little bit less reactive. Third one is more less reactive. And likewise, when you go from top to bottom, the reactivity decreases. So the top one are most reactive, middle one are moderately reactive, or we can say medium reactive, and the last one are considered as least reactive, which do not react at all. Now, how to remember this thing class? You can remember it by just a trick name like Katrina ne car mangi, Alto Zen Ferrari, per hai kyun highly silver plated Audi. With this trick, you can remember this all metal in a particular series, which will help you in the chemical reaction chapter when you do the chemical reaction of displacing or decomposing and double displacement or single displacement kind of chemical reaction. So this will help you to understand. So I want you to learn this all reactivity series with this trick. Moving ahead, reaction of metal with acids, how the metal reacts with acid. You can take any moderately reactive metals with acid, like magnesium with hydrochloric acid, it will form magnesium chloride and hydrogen will be replaced out. Now, how it happens? It happens because of the reactivity series. Because when you see the reactivity series, magnesium is on the top of the hydrogen, plus magnesium is placed on the top of the hydrogen, as you can see here. So it easily displaces hydrogen from chlorine and attaches with chlorine to form magnesium chloride, and hydrogen gas is released. But this reaction is not balanced. As you can see, the numbers are not same. So to balance it, as I have already explained you the method, you can go with that method and get to the balanced equation. Similarly, class, we can take the another example of metal like aluminium reacting with hydrochloric acid, giving us the product same as aluminium chloride, and hydrogen will be replaced. And for balancing, we need to put just numbers as per the rule. Then we can also take iron with hydrochloric acid to form iron chloride. And again, the balancing part would be like this: the reaction obtained with the release of hydrogen as a gas. You can also replace the metal by zinc with an HCl. Zinc is also placed above the hydrogen, so easily zinc will replace the hydrogen to react with chlorine to form zinc chloride. And now we'll see the copper reacting with another acid, nitric acid. Now copper is a little bit down the hydrogen, but the reaction is possible. So the reaction will move in this manner, that copper will react with nitrate to form copper nitrate, plus nitrogen dioxide and water will be released. Now always you need to remember, whenever we have nitrate, whenever we have carbonate, sulfate, all this will give the byproduct or the product as nitrogen dioxide, carbon dioxide, sulfur dioxide along with the water. Moving on to copper, again reacting with same nitric acid, it can also give us a product as nitric oxide, that is NO. Okay, depending upon the number of molecules reacting with them. So copper can result two type of product, wherein we can get nitrogen dioxide as well as nitric oxide as a product. Now we'll move on to reaction of metal with non-metal. Like sodium is a metal, chlorine is a non-metal, but when they react with each other, they give us a salt called sodium chloride. And for balancing, we'll have to put 2, as we all know. Same way, potassium, when it reacts with chlorine, it also gives potassium chloride as a salt, but again, we need to balance it. So we'll have to place 2 and 2 over there. Similarly, we can see one more reaction of magnesium with chlorine. It will also give us a salt called magnesium chloride, a compound. And then we need to see if it needs to be balanced. We'll balance it. But here in case of magnesium, we don't have to balance it. Moving on to reaction of non-metal with oxygen, water, acid, and hydrogen. Now, just till now, we saw how the metal reacts with oxygen, water, acid, and other thing. Now we're going to see how the non-metal reacts with them. So let's start with the first one. Carbon is a non-metal when it reacts with oxygen. Class, when the carbon is burned in a complete combustion, means complete burning is taking place in an open air, carbon gives us a product called carbon dioxide, which is acidic in nature. Similarly, when carbon is not burned in an open space, if it is burned in a closed container, closed room, where there is a partial combustion takes place, it will not produce carbon dioxide, it will produce carbon monoxide, which is neutral in nature. Wherein, if I take sulfur and if I burn it completely in an open space, plus it gives us sulfur dioxide, which is also acidic in nature. And then you need to check out which reaction is balanced and not, and then you'll have to put a numbers according to them. So this is how a non-metal reacts with oxygen. Let's see how the non-metal reacts with chlorine. Like water. Chlorine itself is a non-metal reacting with water. When they will react, class, hypochlorite is formed, HOCl plus HCl, and another acid will be formed. Likewise, if it reacts with an acid, so we have taken a chlorine along with hydrogen bromide as an acid. When it reacts, it produces hydrochloric acid plus bromine is escaped or separated out. Plus, likewise, the sulfur, when it reacts with hydrogen, both of them, plus sulfur is a non-metal and hydrogen is normal gas. When they react with each other, they form as hydrogen sulfide as in gas. Likewise, you can take nitrogen, which is also a non-metal, reacting with hydrogen. So nitrogen reacts with hydrogen in the particular ratio 1:3. It gives us ammonia. Class. Moving on to the other part where we will see the formation of ionic or electrovalent compound. Now, what is ionic and electrovalent compound? Class. Ionic compounds are the compounds which are formed due to the formation of ions or by the ions. Now, ions are of two types. One is called cation and the other one is called as anion. Okay. In this, generally, we have a metal and a non-metal. Now, how the cations and anions are formed, like the metal, after donating their one electron, they get a positive charge on them. So they are called as cations, whereas the non-metal, after gaining those electrons, they get a negative charge on them, are called as anion. So when this cations and anions, when these two ions come closer, they form a compound and it is named as ionic compound, which is also called as electrovalent compound. Let's take an example. Suppose X is in metal with plus charge and Y is a non-metal with minus charge. But when they come closer together, cation and anion, they get combined together, forming an ionic bond between them and gives us a result called X and Y. We can also understand this with an example class of a simple example we can take, where we can take sodium with chlorine. Sodium is a metal with plus charge, chlorine is a non-metal with minus charge. But when they combine, they give us a salt, a new product called sodium chloride as a salt, which is nothing but an ionic compound, because how it has formed by the transfer of electron. Electrovalent or ionic compound definition says that whenever there is a transfer of electron from metal to non-metal, it's called as the compound or form is called as ionic compound. Moving on, class. Now, which are the terms which are involved in metallurgy? The first chapter name itself, metallurgy. Now, what does it mean? A large-scale process involved in the extraction of pure metal from the respective ore is called metallurgy. So for this, we have a very big setup, industries and all, class, which does this all work. Now, which are the processes involved during this metallurgy? So let's talk about the first process, class. We have concentration and the dressing of the ore. Now, what is ore? ore is the main thing which we obtain from the land or the any source, which is nothing but a mixture of impurities plus other metal which are desired to us, right? So we need to concentrate or dressing to it. We need to separate it out. There are lots of other processes which is to be done in order to separate the impurities. And the first method which we follow in this is magnetic separation. In that, what do we need to see? The if it has any magnetic substance class, it can be easily separated out by using the magnet, and all the impurities which are called as gangway are easily removed by this magnetic separation method. So which is desired to us that are kept, and the one which are considered as an impurity are easily thrown, depending upon what material which we are extracting. If we are extracting a ore which is magnetic, then we will keep it. If we are extracting another ore in which the substance is not magnetic, so we'll throw that non-magnetic substance. So we'll keep the non-magnetic substance and throw the other impurities. The other method which we have for this concentration is froth flotation method class, in which even the separation is done by wetting an oil and hence float on the top of the it. Our process is there, you must have seen the textbook class, in which we add this material or ore, and a layer of oil is made, in which the ore which is there, which we need to desire to extract, it floats on the top as a form of foam, and gangway, which is preferably wetted in by the water and settles down, which is then removed from the bottom. It is just like a sedimentation. The third method which we have is hydrolytic method, in which the separation of the ore can easily be done by the denser ore particles settled in the grooves of the vibrating slope table. Okay, so make a table like a slide, and we allow the ore to pass through it. We just release the ore from the top to go down, which is continuously vibrating. In that case, what happens? The denser particles which are required to us, which are heavier to us, like metals, all those which are heavy, will get stick into the grooves. Grooves means the holes are made. They will get stuck in the holes, and the other lighter particle, with the help of water, it will flow down easily by using the water as a stream. Now, process which involved during the method in step 2 method is again concentration of the ore to the oxide. Once we have obtained the ore, now from it extracting a metal is not really easy. So what can be done? We can convert this ore into an oxide by addition of oxygen to it. Now how it can be done? It can be done by a roasting method. The process of heating the concentrated ore in the presence of excess of air to the high temperature before it is reduced to a metal. During this process, an oxygen is attached to the any of your ore. Let's take an example of zinc sulfide. Suppose if zinc sulfide is there, we are heating it up to a very high temperature in the presence of air, whereas this oxygen will attach to the zinc to form zinc oxide, and one more result called sulfur dioxide will be released. But our main thing is converting an ore into an oxide, which you can see from zinc sulfide to zinc oxide. And similarly, you'll have to balance the following reaction where you can get to the result. The other method which we have over here is calcination. In this, again, we heat the concentrated ore, but in the absence of air. In the roasting method class, we heat it in the presence of air, but here we are going to heat it in the absence of air at a particular temperature not sufficient to melt the ore. Like suppose if I have a zinc carbonate, I'm going to heat it in the limited supply of air, or we can say almost not an air. I will easily get my product as zinc oxide and carbon dioxide. This method of converting your particular ore into an oxide is called as calcination. It depends upon the ore. Now ore contains what? If it already contains an oxygen in them as an attached material, okay, attached one, so they will prefer calcination. If there is no oxygen in them, they will prefer roasting method. Generally, carbonate ores are calcined and carbon dioxide is given out. Okay, now we'll see the extraction of metals, which are the common ores which are used in this class. So let's see the ores of the aluminium with the common name, chemical name, and formula. First, when you talk about bauxite, it looks like this class. It's a main ore to extract aluminium, whose chemical name is hydrated aluminium oxide, and its formula is Al2O3.2H2O. We can also extract aluminium from cryolite, which looks like this, sodium aluminate fluoride, and its formula is Na2Al(F6). It can also be extracted from corundum. The picture is there. Aluminium oxide, chemical name, and the formula is aluminium Al2O3. Okay, let's see the flow chart, how it actually the extraction of aluminium is done. First, we take the ore, which is a common or a main ore called bauxite with the formula Al2O3.2H2O. Then it is on by the process called Bayer's process class, it has to be converted by adding a sodium hydroxide. Now, when we react it by sodium hydroxide in a Bayer process, a residue is obtained called impurities, which is separated out as iron oxide and silicon oxide class, SiO2. Then it's finally turned into a solution called sodium aluminate, where we have NaAlO2 as a product, which is then later on gets hydrolyzed, means agitated with an aluminium hydroxide to give us a new product called precipitate of aluminium hydroxide, that is Al2O3. This new product is ignited at a very high temperature called 1100 degrees Celsius, through which we get pure alumina. Then once you obtain pure alumina, it only contains aluminium and oxygen as Al2O3. Later on, this pure alumina is electrolytic reduction takes place by using the electrolytic process or electric current by the method called Hall-Héroult process. Plus, so there will be two electrodes, cathode and anode. Cathode being negatively charged because it is connected to the negative terminal of a battery, anode being positively charged because it is connected to the positive terminal of a battery. Class. So the metal which are always positive, having charge on them, aluminium and oxygen will separate out in this electrolytic reduction or process, where aluminium being a metal positively charged will migrate towards the cathode by giving us 99% of aluminium over there, and oxygen will liberate at anode, giving us the oxygen as a carbon dioxide as a gas in further. Then electro refining, once you obtain 99% of aluminium plus, it has to be electrically refined, because this 99% can give us more amount of pure aluminium by the Hooke's method, where we can get a cathode and later on we obtain pure aluminium. Now we'll see class extraction of metal. Other than aluminium, we have other elements also, other metals also like zinc, how it is extracted and what are the ore. So common name, chemical name is formula. So zinc blende is the common name for this ore, which looks like this. Formula is zinc sulfide, and then ZnS is the chemical formula. Calamine is another ore for zinc, which looks like this. Zinc carbonate and zinc carbonate as in ZnCO3 is the formula. Zinc side plus looks like this. Zinc oxide is the common name, and ZnO is the formula. Similarly, we have also the name of the ores for iron with the chemical name and formula. First is hematite, which is almost in this like figure. Okay, the things like look like this. It is the main ore where we have iron 3 oxide, and the formula is Fe2O3. We have magnetite from which even iron can be extracted, which looks like this. And tri-iron tetraoxide is the chemical name with the formula Fe3O4. And iron pyrites is another ore from which iron can be extracted easily, and disulfide plus FeS2 is the formula. And last but not the least, we have static iron ore, which is iron 2 carbonate, which is FeCO3 as a formula. Now we saw all the extraction methods and all. Now we'll see the corrosion. What is corrosion class? It's nothing but a rusting of iron and its prevention. Now we'll see almost all the metals, mostly the iron, gets easily rusted because of constantly in contact with moisture and oxygen. To show the moisture and oxygen in the air are essential for corrosion or for rusting. Now corrosion in most moist air, iron is oxidized to give rust, that is hydrated iron oxide, which is the formula for the rust. We can understand with the help of chemical equation class. We can see iron Fe reacting with oxygen O2, which is there in the air, along with the moisture which is present in the air, that is X indicates the n number of moisture, and it gives us a product called FeO3 dot XH2O, which is the formula for the rust, right? So due to which, what happens due to the corrosion, the metal loses their strength and they start getting degraded and decomposed, and slowly they turn a very soft material by losing the all strength. Now, in order to protect it, what can be done, class? So in order to protect it or preventing the corrosion, these things can be done. Like you can go for the galvanizing method, you can go for tinning, you can go for anodizing, electroplating, and alloying. All these methods will help you to make your metal more stronger against rusting, against your moisture and air, moisture and oxygen. Now, due to this, what happens? An extra coating is applied on a metal, due to which the oxygen cannot come in contact and the moisture cannot come in contact with the metal surface. There is a border kind of thing is created which do not allow them to come in contact and the reaction do not proceed. You must have seen the iron rods or the iron material in our houses where we do the painting. So when we do the painting, due to this paint, an extra coat is applied on an iron surface, and because of which the contact between the oxygen, moisture, and iron breaks. Iron surface do not come in contact with them and so do not get corroded. So if these methods are used, the corrosion can be prevented. Then there was a question last year on the basis of your reactivity series. So this was the question, and there were 3 questions given to us. Name 2 methods which reacts with the metals which reacts with the metal with the water. There are many which react with water, but the first 3 we wrote potassium, sodium, and calcium as the answer. Second, name 2 moderately reactive metals. The one which are in between are considered moderately reactive. I have already explained you. So we can name them as magnesium, iron, zinc, aluminum, and many more. And the name the most highly reactive metal and the least reactive metal. So the most highly reactive metal is at the top, called potassium. And the least reactive metal class is at the bottom, called coal. So this was the question which can come, and thank you for listening and watching this video. As I have already requested, if you like the video, please like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe the channel. Thank you. All the best for your exams.